Hey guys, welcome back to the Home Turf. Hopefully you're doing good and having a great day. I love you all, and I'm so glad you could join me. Today we're talking about how is it that women have been robbed of their futures. Well, I've already talked a lot about men and how have been treated today, how men have ultimately had their futures ripped from them. And now it's time to talk about how women have had theirs ripped from them. Um, and so Well, how is it that women have had their futures ripped from them? Well, look at where things are heading, right? And the next generation of women that are coming up. Um, Women are increasingly unhappy today. Increasingly unhappy today. So much so that the last study I looked at, I think around 40% of women today were on some kind of medication or seeking some kind of medical help for mental disorders. And I think that's partly due to the Plan B or the um, birth control pill, but we'll leave that there for right now. um, because listen, ladies, we all know that shit fucks with your mind more than anything else does. You guys can admit that. So ultimately, what led to this, right? Is the question that we really want to ask is how did we get here? Well, we look at history first of all. Um, there is a huge stigma against the anti-suffragists, which I think is interesting because uh, history, or at least recorded history, the history that we chose to record, of course, propping up the suffragists, ignoring the militant part, and absolutely promoting the movement. Uh, we also downplayed what women were actually saying, what most women were saying. And there were all kinds of things that was happening during that time. What they had found when they were asking women about the right to vote and work and all that stuff, most women were either indifferent to the right to vote for women or actively opposed to it. And the reason for that is because, listen, there is a certain way that society works. And anything that happens outside of that, things begin to crumble. This is exactly why the birth rate is plummeting the way that it is now. It's exactly why our society itself is so dysfunctional. Um, but we'll get to that here in a second. Most women, I mean, I would say that this is how life works, anyways. But most women during that time had believed that women's roles were in the private domain, and women should not step into the men's domain because that is where their purpose is. Women's purpose is in the home. Men's purpose is outside of the home, gathering resources, right? Braving the world so that everything at home is running not perfectly fine, but it's running, and it's benefiting everyone who is involved, right? Um, Everyone's provided for, everyone is protected, and that was the whole point. And that's why a lot of pushback, specifically from women, um, were so pushed onto the suffragists. Uh, Again, most women didn't really either care for or did not want the right to vote, and that's also mainly because a lot of women knew, and this is what a lot of them said. A lot of them knew that if they got the right to vote, that they would also have to register for selective service, and so I mean, that doesn't really apply, at least right now. But they knew that it was going to happen eventually, and there was also some there were some bills that was put forward, I believe, either a year or two ago, about requiring women to register for selective service, and of course, women were up in arms about that, which I think is incredibly rich. Um, because look, if you have a job and you're working, understandable in this economy, I get it. We'll get to that here in a little bit too. But if you're working and you're providing a way for yourself and you're talking about independence, you're bragging about your independence, bragging about your right to vote, guess what? You should also register for selective service. If that's something that the men have to do, you have to do too. That comes along with it. Now, if you want to be your own man, you can go ahead and be your own man. Guess what? You're also going to have to reap the consequences and not just the benefits. This is how life goes. But, anyways, so I don't go off on a tangent. Um, yeah, most women did not want the right to vote. They didn't. They didn't really care for it. Um, and so obviously things came to happen. Women got the right to vote. Well, what happened from there? Uh, what happened from there was, uh, you know, sexual liberation. Which here's the thing, right? Uh, I do believe in everyone choosing their partner to be with, especially if they're going to commit, such a such a huge decision like marriage. I understand, right? I agree with a lot of the sentiment that feminists or early feminists had, right? To not be mocked just because they were a woman. I understand that because there are some exceptions to the rule. But what you also have to understand, and this is what even women understand today underneath all of the feminism, is that um, women cannot do the things that men can, right? It doesn't mean that they're lesser than, that they're weaker. It just means that we have different responsibilities, right? As a man and as a woman. And that is completely fine. We have to accept those roles. We have to accept that. But more on that a little bit later. Um, um, yes, women wanted the choice to choose who they were going to marry, who they were going to, obviously have sexual relations with. Um, which also I think is a great idea. But uh, in that, they had overstepped that, right? And that became a huge problem, not just for the women, but also the men. And I'm not gonna make this about men too much in this video. But the one thing that I do respect the feminist movement for, aside from berating them about bombing people and setting fires to shit, but the one thing that I do respect the feminist movement, at least in America, anyways, are the women who stepped up, right, and did the hard jobs, welding, factory work, um, really hard laborious jobs. And then also, taking discrimination and turning into something that, benefited them overall, right? And then, going back to the home after that. Um, I respect the hell out of that because they walked the walk. They really did. They walked the walk. They stood for they said something and they stood for what they were saying, right? And I respect that. So back to the um, the overcorrection, which is where they inevitably lost me. Um, the sexual liberation movement. Um, was something that was well, it wasn't it had good intentions from the beginning, but had evolved into um, more hedonistic type stuff, right? Um, eventually evolved into uh, if I want to sleep with men like women, or if I want to sleep with men, right, like men sleep with women, I should not be berated for it. And here's the thing: listen, ladies, nobody should be uh, promiscuous. There's a reason why us as humans, we crave companionship, right? Um, we, listen, men are more adapted, right, to promiscuity. That is true just because of the way that we are wired, right? We wish to spread our seed as much as possible, right? Um, but but that does not mean that we are not affected just as much as you are when it comes to promiscuity, right? Um, we both get damaged from it because we are meant to have one companion, and that's it. And so, i- either way it goes, um, is that it's disgusting. It really is. Um, and I believe that particularly happened in the what 60s, 70s, I think, um, with the whole sexual liberation. And then you had prominent figures like Margaret Sanger, right, who was pushing the Plan B pill, and then also a co-founder of um, Planned Parenthood, who was also a prominent eugenicist and a racist. So you guys can do your research into that. Um, but they didn't they didn't do anybody any favors by pushing women's promiscuity and then introducing abortion and plan B pills and birth control pills, because obviously what this has done is altered women's psychology, really. Because there was a study I was looking at a while ago, and I can't remember where it was from. Um, but what they had reported was that women that were on birth control had actively chose partners, men, um, who were completely the opposite of what they were biologically attracted to. And when they came off of the birth control pill, right, the typical effeminate men that they were with, they absolutely found disgusted at. They found disgust in, right? They were disgusted by these men that they were with, and that ultimately destroyed the relationship. And so that's why I always tell women, look, do not get on birth control if there is no medical need for you to be on birth control. I understand that some women have super, super bad periods. And if it's a medical condition where birth control actually helps you, then, you know, that's up to you to decide, right? Um, because I've come across a few women where birth control actually helped them, but it's because of their medical condition. And I can understand that. I absolutely can. But if you don't have a medical condition, and if you are just using birth control, right, to prevent pregnancy, listen. First of all, don't be promiscuous. That's number one. And then number two, this birth control, stuff that you're taking, um, is not for your benefit. It's not in your best interest to do that. Um, and so, uh, when women had entered the when women had got the right to vote, they've also skated away from register for selective service. So for all these women who are running around saying that they're not privileged, that they're victims of society, um, that's pretty rich because you can vote, but you don't have to go to war. The men do, right? You vote, you send them to war. That's keep that in mind. Um, anyways, here's another thing too: is that when the ladies entered the workforce, they also became taxable. That's also true. And guess who benefited from that? The government. The government benefited from that. And so we have more women, right, who are taking some of the the surplus of the currency, right, um, and taking it away from what could be given to whole family units, right, and is now divided. Um, so given that with the sexual liberation movement, the fact that more women are working now more than ever, so much so that women today actually represent over half of the workforce. And I mean, that's partially due to men dropping out of society as a whole, which understandable, you take men's purpose away, what's left for them? Anyways, um, with more women entering the workforce, becoming taxable, with um, more women voting and more susceptible to politicians, right? Because here's the thing: before women got the right to vote, the whole family would come together, they would talk about who they were going to vote for, and then they would decide as a family who to vote for. Now that's changed, right? And you have one person, you have a woman who's voting, you have a man who's voting, right? And with today, politicians have absolutely taken advantage of that. They have divided men and women on many different things. Um, and that's politics, that's religion, that is, men's issues, women's issues, almost everything. But again, more on that in a few minutes. Um, you have less of a economic opportunity for families because women are always going to look for men that are above them, right? That are not on their level at all, as many people would consider today, but as someone that women can look up to, right? Who they can respect, and so in that particular point in time, the 40s, 50s, 60s, a lot of men, coming back from the war, were, finding jobs again. They were going into the factories, right? And they were doing very well. The baby booming era, right? The true dream of America, where you had the white picket fence. You could keep your wife home. She didn't have to worry about going to work. The only thing that she really had to worry about was, you know, um, helping you out with going and getting groceries, helping out with some of the bills, um, making trips here and there to make sure the money got to where it needed to go. Um, Obviously, taking care of the home and the kids and, this, that, and the third. And, they didn't really have to worry too much about anything else. Um, but obviously, that's changed. With more women working now, there's less of an opportunity that men have to be able to afford families. And I say this all the time. Um, Men just cannot afford it today. They just can't. And when you have most average men who cannot afford families, these women are never going to look at that because one of the two necessities that it is for a woman to find a man attractive is provisioning and protecting, right? You fail on one or the other, you're not going to be considered for um, a, a prospect. It's not going to happen, right? And this has slowly happened over time. It's kind of really it's caught people off guard today because we are just now doing our research and we've began to see the trail all the way with the span over 100 years um, of how we got here. So um, now a lot of women have the question of, where are the good men at, right? What the actual question is where are the economically viable men? That's the term that is mostly used, is economically viable men. Um, there's there's two caveats to that, right? One I've already talked about with women entering the workforce. The other one is the conditioning, right? And there are all kinds of conditioning. Feminism, which is one of that I mentioned, right? But conditioning through policies, through incentives, right? Such as welfare, such as the court systems when it comes to divorce courts, when it comes to family courts, um, such as uh, Disney, giving young women stories like princesses, being rescued by princes, um, and it's not conducive to what reality actually is. Um, you know, uh, it's just it's that's not that's not reality. Ladies, you are never going to find your Prince Charming. It's just not going to happen. That's not how life works. Um, can you find a good man? Yes, absolutely. But is he always going to sweep you off your feet? No, no. A relationship is going to have its ups and downs, right? Um, and so, more on what actual love is here in a bit. All of this conditioning has happened over time, and slowly, little by little, have they really had women believe against their own best interest, right? They've made women believe that they can commit their life to a career instead of to a family. And more women are, the majority, I would say, of women are happier at home taking care of children and married. That is very true. Women would prefer to be home, married, and taking care of children. Now, obviously, you're going to have your exceptions to the rule, but um, doesn't take away from the argument. um, so, you've had all of this conditioning happening all throughout the span of 100 years. And then the internet came out. Uh, and the internet has absolutely accelerated these issues. Um, Social media, especially with how the algorithms have been designed in a way to promote these degenerate trends, right, of testing him. And by no means, right, should you not test somebody, but either man or woman, you must test each other um, to make sure that who you're investing into is going to be a good future for you to invest into, right? But you should test them. However, the testing I'm talking about is the toxic ones, right? Such as this, um, um, one of the most recent trends was getting a text, right, from John or James or whoever the fuck, uh, and seeing what his reaction is. No, absolutely not. It's these trends like this that women have really taken a hold of, and then you also have, you know, as well. I mean, you also have, you know, these massive um, these massive sayings like men ain't shit, men aren't worth anything. You know, just a bunch of misandry that women have really been conditioned to not just believe but live out. You understand? Um, and it's just it's a massive lie because men will always need women and women will always need men. Men need women to produce children. Women will always need men for provisioning and protecting. That's just how things are. That's how things have always been, and that's how things will always be. Um, so we will need each other, and we cannot switch that up. Because again, if we do, and we have, this is exactly what happens. Collapse is coming, and if there's nothing done to correct course, um, I definitely see within the next 5 years that things are completely going to go off the rails, and there's no going back after that point. I don't even believe there's anything that can really get us to go back at this point, at right now. Um, but you have things on social media like this that openly push division against men and women, right? And then you also have these politicians who are um, doing the carrot on a stick kind of dance, right? They're playing to women's emotions, and we all know how women are susceptible to their emotions today. Um, most women lack emotional intelligence. It's not that they're dumb. It's not that they're stupid. It's that a lot of women don't understand their emotions today, and they don't understand how they can control their emotions. That's what that means. Now, a lot of people can't control their emotions today, but especially women. And I'm saying this to help you. I'm saying this to help you. And listen, therapy, you can see therapy for specific things, right? To help you with maybe cognitive rewiring. But if you're just seeing therapy because you're having problems, right? That's you know that's something made you upset, right? Um, most therapists aren't really going to help you because most therapists are having issues themselves that they can't really figure out. Um, and so I don't really recommend therapy. What I do recommend is, you know, that you do your own research. You try to look inward, understand yourself. Why is it that you're acting the way that you are? Why is it you're responding the way that you are? Why is it that you're thinking and feeling the way that you are? What is making you feel this way, right? Understand it, get a hold of it, and then ultimately control it. Okay. Um, but you have you have all these things: Disney, social media, politicians, policies such as affirmative action, such as DEI, such as um, welfare, such as food stamps, such as um, um, alimony, such as child support. Uh, child support I can understand, but alimony, since women are, you know, 40% of women who are in the workforce today actively earn more than their spouses do, right? And so with such a huge surplus of women who are actively earning more than what they have ever had, it's not exactly alimony should be done away with. Absolutely, it should. It should be done away with. It should be. Um, what should happen is whoever broke off the marriage, right? Whoever is at fault in the marriage. If there's a mutual split up, no alimony for anyone. But if there's someone who actively broke the marriage vows, or who, well, I mean, yeah, cheated, but of course, there's someone who actively broke the marriage vows for whatever reason. Maybe they're leaving because they're bored. Maybe they're leaving because they don't want to be in the relationship anymore. Maybe they're leaving because they cheated. At that point, they should absolutely, man or woman, pay for alimony. I believe in that 100%. I think that's a good fix for a lot of problems. And then you also have child support. And child support should absolutely go to the person who can afford a life for them. That would also fix a bunch of problems. Anyways, women are the majority holders of both alimony and child support. That's true. So there's a bunch of incentives there, which, some things are being corrected, and I think that's great. But there also is such a bias against men and against fathers in particular, over women, over mothers, um, and that's a huge disservice, not just to uh, the men, but to the women as well, right? Because, well, ultimately that could be putting a burden, not exactly a burden. I should say a financial burden. Could be in certain situations on one person alone, um, that they may not be ready for. Um, and so it should absolutely go to whoever can afford that. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say that. Uh, but again, you have all of this stuff. No fault divorce. Glad I just thought about that. No fault divorce. Used to be that the only way you could divorce was that someone either cheated or they actively broke marriage vows by wanting to leave. Um, or I'm sorry, not that. Correction. They either cheated or they abused you. That's the only way that you could leave. And so it made people very cautious about who it is that they were going to marry. Um, but also understand back in those days, this idea of love, unconditional love, didn't exist. It was more to the duty of the family, right? And so, was there some love involved? Yes, of course. But that wasn't the main focus. The main focus was producing a healthy family that would benefit society. That was the main focus. And through this Disney rewiring, um, that's completely flipped. And it's gotten women in such a state of mind that anything outside uh, the lens of rose tinted glasses, when it comes to relationships, they want they don't see as love, right? Here's what love actually is. When things get extremely hard and you wake up, right? Never go to bed angry with someone. Never do it. Don't. But you wake up, right? And you look over and you think of everything that they have done for you, right? To better the family. You think about that every single day. Even when you're having differences, even when you're having arguments. Because listen, people have their days. They do. Um, no relationship is perfect. None. And so there will be disagreements here and there. People are different. But through those differences, you still look at that person, right? They respect you, right? They do love you. But you look at them and you don't look at them in a negative light, and you actively choose, right, to love them, not unconditionally, but you choose to love them because of all the things that they have shown you up until this point. They've respected you in the way that you deserve to be respected. They've shown you that they can take care of you. They've shown you that that love, that attention that you need. They were there when you needed them. That's what you choose to look at. That's the light that you choose to look at them in, instead of in the moment and how you're feeling. Right? That's what love is. That's what love is. So, um, with that, it really explains why women have been robbed of their futures, because less and less women are choosing families. They're choosing marriage. What I'm sorry. Less and less women are choosing families. Less and less women are choosing marriage. Less and less women are choosing to even get involved with men. Instead, they have been convinced to serve, right? Because that's a word that they hate. It's a word. That's a word that most women hate today for whatever reason. Um, they would much rather serve a corporation and their bosses over serving their husbands and their families, which I think is rich, because yes, you may have a house, you may have your own car, but those materials, it's not going to bring you happiness at the end of the day. It's not. What will is you coming home, right? Or I should say, since it's a traditional thing. Well, I mean, yeah, you could be out getting groceries or whatnot, but um, let's just say, you go out, you're helping your husband go grocery shopping, right? Um, or you're making the trip to go grocery shopping. You come back home, and your kids are running to you, welcoming you back home. You're cooking a wonderful meal for your husband. He comes in, gives you a kiss on the cheek, smells dinner, smells great, sits down, you know, um, does man things, does man things, and got dinner ready, and then people are actively enjoying your cooking. They're enjoying the time there with you, right? It's the warmth, the loving family. Listen, some of my family members here, um, because I don't like to call you guys subscribers. You guys are family members, not subscribers. Are married, and they're married women, and they will absolutely tell you that they would not be. They would much rather not be anything else but happy and married, and that's just the way things are. So, if I happen to have missed anything, um, it's a pretty broad topic to talk about, and I could talk about this for hours, guys. But I want to go ahead and cut off here. It's already way over time, but it's a lot to talk about, and so um, you guys let me know what you think. Please do. I'll be more than happy, to read the comments, and talk with you guys. Because I do read them, I respond to them. So let me know what you guys are thinking. I'm very curious to know what you guys are seeing, what research you've done, and ultimately, what your thoughts are. So I'll be looking forward to hearing from you guys. And listen, if you happen to have your own stories of what you're seeing, you are more than welcome to come on to the channel here, the Home Turf, right? And tell your own story, because there are a lot of women out there that are lost who may be looking for information like this. So ladies, listen, I need you guys to step up, for my married women out there. Tell the single girls, tell the single ladies, how happy you are in your marriage, where you're staying at home, you're taking care of the kids, right? You're taking care of the home, your husband's out doing, what he needs to do to take care of the family. More people need to know this, specifically more women. More women need to be shown this, right? So, uh, yeah, just reach out. I'll be more than happy to have you on so that we can talk about this. So, that being said, guys, thank you so much for all that you're doing. This channel is really blowing up. It really is, and I appreciate every single one of you. I love you all so much. If you ever need me for anything, please reach out. But make sure you are taking care of yourselves. Okay, take care of yourselves. Because I can't take care of you for you. So take care of yourselves. Take care of each other, both mind and body. Okay, mind fit, physically fit. Okay, so you got to be prepared, both mind and body. Never know how something or someone will attack you. Got to be ready, especially you women too. Got to be ready. So, uh, thank you all for watching so much. I appreciate it. I I appreciate every single one of you. You guys are awesome. Again, if you need me for anything, just reach out. I'm always here. All right. I wish you all a very lovely day. You guys take care again, and I will talk to you guys soon.